Good morning, traders. It is Wednesday, March 13th, 2019. I am Jonathan van Clute with Stock Navigators, here to give you a little heads up on what is brewing in the market. Before I jump into that, I just want to say a big, huge welcome to our latest crop of students to go through our Technical Trading Accelerator program. Welcome, all of you. That was an absolute blast. I really enjoyed meeting all of you, spending 4 days with you. That was really awesome, and I cannot wait to hear about how you are implementing all the exciting new stuff that you learned, and I look forward to seeing you in the Facebook group and in the premium chat room a little later this morning, hopefully. Anyway, with that, let's take a look at the markets this morning, starting with the S&P 500. So there is something interesting brewing. We have got a definite sort of danger zone overhead, right? We've got this sell zone from the triple top from back in the past. In fact, here, let me zoom out here on the daily chart. So on the daily, of course, this zone here has formed this big sell zone here. And you can see what's happened the last two times we got up into this zone. Price has just rejected sharply from the top of the zone. And so far at this moment, actually, we are pushing back up into that zone, trying to hang on to it. But take a look at what's happening on our awesome MACD. It is heading down. It is getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And at this moment, the bulls are being extremely stubborn. They are refusing to give up on price, right? They are just pushing up, pushing up, pushing up. But check it out. The MACD line crossed below the signal line already quite some time ago and has been holding below there. It's turning up now, trying one last shot to get above that signal line. But look at the oscillator histogram. I mean, again, it's just heading down. This is getting really, really weak. And at this moment, everything is looking like it's going to want to form a correction, which this is the area at reasonable target that I would be probably looking for. Now, if we take a look at a smaller time frame on the 60-minute, things get even sort of uglier because check this out. We've got price doing, oops, come on, price doing higher highs, right? But look at the oscillator. Look at that. Just brutal divergence. It is absolutely heading down, and we are getting close to crossing that zero line. We cross that, and there's no question the balance of power has completely shifted between the bulls and the bears. I mean, you can see here, this whole section back here, the bears were in control, and sure enough, it is very clearly reflected there. But then when it turned around, we crossed the zero line. That was the confirmation that nope, bulls are in charge, and it's been all bulls all the time ever since. Not the case anymore. Absolutely, we are heading down in the oscillator, making lower lows, lower highs, and price is continuing to make higher lows and higher highs. So this is an absolute textbook divergence. It's happening at a sell zone. We've got multiple confluence factors going on at the same time. This is exactly what we look for. There is something brewing. There's a nice potential trade opportunity setting up. Of course, we don't have any way to know exactly where it might stop. I'm guessing it will be somewhere in this sell zone, but it could get all the way to the top edge of the zone. It's possible it could even get ever so slightly above. There could be a whole bunch of stops congregated just right outside this zone from people who have recognized this is happening, and maybe they went short here at this past candle last Monday, I believe that was. But it's possible the market will come up here, hungry beast that it is, and gobble up those stops and then turn around and head to the downside. So we don't know exactly when this is going to run out of steam, but all signs right now are pointing to soon. If you look at even smaller time frames, I'm seeing this same setup happening on a 5-minute time frame, 15-minute time frame. Things are definitely looking weak. So watch out for that. Right this instant on the short time frame, obviously we're pushing up, so you can see that on the shorter term, 60-minute, the MACD has crossed above the signal line. So right now, the bulls are in control, right? They're pushing it higher. They broke the higher high and are pushing higher to set a new higher high. But like I'm saying, it's looking really, really weak. So just be very cautious. If you are trading to the long side, this is probably a good time to think about taking some profits. or stepping aside and just waiting to see what happens if you don't have any interest in trading the short side. If you're into trading the short side, your trade is coming. So just be ready for it. All right, let's take a look at crude oil, see what's been going on there in the last couple of days. And the answer is really a whole lot of not much. We are still going sideways, right? Still just kind of bouncing around in a sideways channel, just hopping above this zone here, which really wasn't a technically correct zone. It was really just kind of highlighting this congestion from back here, as well as the highs from back here that got broken. So it is, stair stepping, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. But each step kind of goes just sideways for a while. We had the same kind of thing here, mostly sideways for a while. But here's what I don't like. Here's what I'm watching out for. Check out that oscillator, right? It's getting weaker. So while price is making higher highs, oscillator is making lower highs. That is a danger sign. I'm not sure how long this is going to hold before we have a correction of some sort. And now that doesn't mean a big crash is necessarily going to happen. It doesn't mean we're even going to break this low here. But remember, a healthy uptrend is going to make higher highs and higher lows and higher highs and higher lows. And at some point, it needs to have a little bit more severe of a correction. For those of you who know your wave counts, you know we're talking about the ABC, right? So I am thinking that somewhere soon we're probably going to correct and pull back and maybe make a higher low like here or something. I'm just roughly guessing. Probably higher than this low, but potentially lower than this one. So we will still be in higher highs and higher lows, but we just need to work off some of this push up that has happened. And right now, the oscillator is weakening. So it's entirely reasonable that the oscillator will not cross the zero line, though. It'll come down to the zero line and then hold and then turn around and go back up again. So I would not be at all surprised to see that. So maybe we do only get a pullback to somewhere in this area here. But either way, a pullback looks like it's setting up. It's not extreme. Like I said, I don't see high oscillator here and the low is down here near the zero line. We're not talking anything quite to that level. But something is brewing. Let me actually clear my lines because I forgot they were going to be over here. Now, if we look at the 60-minute time frame, we see a very similar picture with price has been going up, making higher highs, but the oscillator is coming down and making lower highs. So again, on the shorter term time frame, on the 60, price is looking like it needs to cool off a little bit. It's kind of running out of steam. But it doesn't mean it's going to cross necessarily the zero line to the downside. You can see here that our oscillator portion of the awesome MACD did not cross below the signal line, or sorry, below the zero line. So the bulls are still holding on. They are retaining their control up here. But still, even with that being said, there needs to be relief periods. They need to back off a little bit and give it a rest. So it looks like that could be coming. So just watch out for that. If you are trading to the long side, it could be a great long opportunity. We had this trend line here that was moving up and price clearly has broken it. That's another good first indication that something is kind of losing its strength, is that we broke that trend line, because this is a very reasonable trend line. That's roughly a 45-degree angle. It's not extreme at all, and price has already broken it. So we could go ahead and move this down to cut through the wick. Oops, let me get rid of snap mode here. Cut through the wick here and put the trend line right about there. And that would still be reasonable. But again, we break that trend line again, that is a potential danger sign. But if we pull back to that trend line and hold, and maybe the oscillator comes down closer to the zero line and holds, that could be a really good long entry. We could be definitely looking at a nice long entry there. So just keep an eye on that. Watch for that awesome MACD. Make sure it doesn't cross below the zero line, because if it does, then the balance of power has definitely shifted to the bear side. And you can see what happened here when we crossed below the zero line there. There was no doubt at all there was a correction coming, and that's what we had. So just watch out, especially for that. Your signal line being crossed by the MACD line is your first indication. And right now, to the bull side on the 60, that has happened. Right, the MACD line has crossed the signal line. On the bigger time frame, though, look at that. They are pretty much just in parallel together. So kind of indecisive right now. Could go either way. So we don't have a definitive screaming signal here, but just watch out. Be aware of that brewing, okay? Let's take a look at gold. And gold, got this nasty little whack, pulled back, but still kept higher than this retracement low here, this little pullback low there. So the uptrend ultimately is still intact. But look what happened to the oscillator, right? Price again was making higher high, higher high, higher high. Look what the oscillator was doing: lower high, lower high, lower high. It was telegraphing, we're getting weaker, we're getting weaker. Watch for a break of the latest higher low, and that's probably a good indication that things are getting ugly. And then also, of course, we broke this trend line as well. That was your second confirmation. So you had multiple factors pointing to there's a correction coming. And sure enough, we had a real nice little move to the downside there. So right now, the bears are in control, right? The oscillator portion of awesome MACD is below the zero line, no question about it. The MACD line is below the signal line, although it has hooked around, turned back up, and is trying to cross above. So will that be able to cross? Will the bulls be able to keep control? They've got control right now, and they're pushing it up. Are they going to hold that? Well, watch for a cross of the zero line. That will be a really good indication that the balance of power is shifting and the bulls are in charge. And of course, if they take out this high here, then we know for sure we're pushing higher to make another leg. On the 60-minute, we also, man, this is just divergence city right now. We also have higher highs there and lower highs there. Now, this one is not all that extreme, right? We've got just kind of a gentle downtrend here, downslope on the oscillator, and a steeper upslope on the price action. So, this isn't that extreme. I'm not seeing this and saying, whoa, look out, this is a major signal or anything. But it is certainly something to pay attention to. We also have a sort of a secondary divergence here, right? Price going higher, sharply higher, oscillator not going higher. Not really going sharply lower either, but is just not able to go any higher. So that is a second factor that points to we could be having a correction coming. We've also got this zone here that price has punched through, but now has fallen back into. So, signs are kind of suggesting we might not be done with this move here. It could be that this is just a little retracement in the down move, and we've got one more down. So that would not be all that surprising at all. That would also be, 1, 2, 3. You could call it ABC. I'm not technically doing wave counts here or anything, but I'm just pointing out that patterns of 3 that we talked about, right? 1, 2, 3. Correct. Now we've got 1 thrust down, and we might have 2 thrusts down and maybe 3 thrusts down, or it might just do 1, 2, 3 and be done. Either way, just look for threes and look for crosses of the zero line. Look for divergences to confirm what's going on with price action, and watch for it to take out a higher low. And then you know which direction things want to go. So be prepared. All right, let us take a peek at natural gas, see what's going on there in that market. And right now, we are kind of at a decision area. On the daily, we are right pretty much at the zero line on the oscillator portion of the awesome MACD, right? So we are technically above that zero line, but just barely. I mean, we are at 0.03. That is almost as close as you can get without being at zero. So it is really indecisive right now. Could go either way. We don't have any really clear indication from the oscillator. We don't have a clear divergence. We don't have really anything like that to especially go on. So right now, a little bit tough. Really, the only thing I can see going on reliably would be price action. So we've got a higher high here. We've got a lower low here. If price breaks either one of those, then we know which direction it's going to want to head further. There is, of course, support down below. We've talked about that before. We've got these two zones here, and the pink one is the far more significant zone, the major zone. The blue one is kind of a more minor zone, but either one of them could act as support. We also could sort of double bottom, triple bottom, depending on how you want to look at it, down here. Price could pull back to there. We did break this trend line already, so that's kind of a first indication that this trend maybe is not holding to the upside all that well. So just watch out for that on the daily. We don't have a lot of clarity. On the 60, we've got a similar but not identical situation here. We do have price making higher highs and higher lows, right? So that is bullish. That's a good sign. The oscillator is also moving upwards, which is just in agreement with that price action. So right this moment, it looks like we're kind of okay. The oscillator was really low, and then less low, and then even less low, and it also popped over the zero line. So there is signs of bullishness going on here. There are signs of bullishness happening. So we certainly could be continuing to the upside. We got to watch for a break of that higher high, and then that will be our confirmation. And then everybody will see that. Everybody will know. And then most likely we've got a one, a two, and then a three. So we'll have a nice strong move to the upside if that is correct. Of course, if we break to the downside, take this level out, then that is all invalid. And in fact, this downtrend is still intact. So you need to watch very closely to see what the price action wants to do. That is going to be our sign to the upside, and that is going to be our sign to the downside. So watch those levels and just watch for price to get closer to them before you do anything. All right, Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is a messy market. All right, there's no two ways about it. We have still just sideways action, right? We're still just trapped in this area here, not really going anywhere, pretty much going sideways. But it's Bitcoin, so we're going sideways. You know, in a 1,000 point range, or more than 1,000 point range. We really need to get over this 44.15 area to the upside, though, and so far have not been able to do that. But the oscillator, which was extremely bearish here, and then less bearish, and then actually got slightly bullish for a moment, and then bearish, but not terribly bearish, then bullish, and now is holding to the bull side. So it does appear that there is strength brewing in the oscillator portion of the awesome MACD. Now, the MACD line, signal line are not telling us anything right now on a daily basis. They have just been pretty much stuck together, mostly stuck together for a while. There's just no momentum right now going on in Bitcoin. Not a lot happening. On the 60-minute basis, you can see that we don't have any real clarity going on either. Price is not making higher highs, higher lows, or lows, lower highs. The oscillator is not giving us anything to really go on. I mean, we did have a divergence back here where price was making. In fact, let me grab my line. Price was making higher highs. Oscillator was making lower highs, and that suggested that we've got a correction coming, and we got that. So again, if you want to be an intraday trader and you want to just grab a few $100 move in Bitcoin, which is a tiny move for Bitcoin, you definitely can do that. You can grab $100, $150, $200 in a day sometimes, or at least in a couple of days if you want to kind of just do a short-term swing trade. So there are opportunities to be had, but right now, because we are sideways, you can't really use your Dow theory. You can't really use your higher highs and higher lows, lower highs. We just don't have a good picture of that. So right now, it's looking like your best bet is just to watch for these clear divergences. When price is heading one way and your awesome MACD is heading the other, that gives you a good suggestion of what is brewing. And then you can watch for things like after you see this divergence, we had a cross of the MACD line below the signal line, and that was a pretty good indication that something is happening. And then shortly after that, we went short. And notice actually, let me put a vertical line on that because this is worth pointing out. Where's my vertical line? Vertical line, there it is. So notice at the point that this peak happened, right, was right at the absolute start of the correction. So you had plenty of time. You could have gotten in anywhere in here. You had the better part of a day to go ahead and jump on this to the short side and grab a little money. So just watch for that. Watch for your divergences right now in Bitcoin. That's going to probably be your best bet. Divergences with a signal line cross, and there you go. And don't get greedy. Keep in mind you're not going to pick up a huge trending move, but just project a reasonable target based on the amount that Bitcoin has been moving lately. Just look at your average moves, and then look at a recent low, maybe go a little above that, which is pretty much exactly what we had here. The low was here, and if your target had been around this level, maybe halfway in the wick of this candle or something, that was pretty much exactly where it went. So don't get greedy, right? Just take a reasonable, nice, healthy chunk out of the move and step aside and wait for the next divergence or the next indication of what's happening to set up. All right, that kind of wraps it up. Let's take a look at the ES again, see if anything has happened. And the answer is a big fat no. Nothing has especially happened. Price is still just hanging in there. We'll have to see what happens at the bell. What does this market give us today? It's going to be really interesting to see. So, one last time, I am Jonathan Van Clute with Stock Navigators, and I am asking you to please do subscribe to the channel if you are not already. Hit that subscribe button, and you can also leave us feedback. We would really appreciate that. We love the comments, love the feedback, and we see all of it, and we take all of it very seriously. And of course, give us a thumbs up if you would, please. The thumbs ups really help us to get some exposure for this. We're really trying to help the trading community, and we want to get the message out. So hopefully, this has been helpful to you. And if there's anything else we can do to help you in your trading, please do let us know in the comments below. Thanks again for your time. I'm going to go get ready for the premium chat room this morning in about 10 minutes. So for those of you who will be there, I'll see you on the other side. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.